Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Veronica Corona. I am a business advisor with the Valley Economic Alliance, and I head the Business Assistance Program. And for those of you who are not registered with us yet and get some free consulting from me, I will make sure to share the link on our chat. But I want to tell you a little bit about the Valley Economic Alliance. It is a strategic private-public collaboration made up by governments, corporations, small businesses, educational institutes, and community organizations whose mission is to engage and unite behind the principles, policies, and practice necessary for economic vitality and prosperity, bringing together a sustainable economic future for five cities. The five cities, San Fernando Valley region, including Burbank, Calabasas, Glendale, Los Angeles, and San Fernando, in an area with more than 160,000 businesses, over 2 million residents, and covering more than 400 square miles. But we've also gone beyond the San Fernando Valley because we get clients from other areas out of the San Fernando Valley. So thank you for being here. I will be sharing the link of the chat about the business assistance program, and you can schedule a consultation, a free consultation with myself. I also have a co facilitator with me today. His name is Nick Candu, and Nick is our regional manager of Southern California, regional manager of Southern California for Marble Bridge Funding Group Inc. So I'll give Nick the screen to share a little bit about what he does. Nick, if you like to share a little bit about what you do, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's nice to see you all here on the panel. Like Frank said, my name is Nick. I work for Marble Bridge Funding Group. We're an alternative source of growth capital for both, early stage and mature companies alike that might not qualify or be ready for traditional bank financing. So we help these companies grow through a various, methods of alternative finance, including but not limited to, accounts receivable, invoice financing, purchase order, and contract financing. So we work with companies that sell goods or services, business to business or business to government, help them cycle their cash more quickly, and allow them to grow at a more exponential rate. And then I was also a small business owner myself for 8 years. Built my company from the ground up and sold my equity stake actually last year. So I've been on your side of the table as well as this side of the table. So happy to answer any and all questions pertaining to small business development and or lending and money, any type of those types of questions.
Thank you, Nick. And thank you for sharing that, Nick, because I should have also said that I'm still a small business owner because I'm an independent business consultant, but I also built a cleaning company that expanded to 21 states. So I eventually also sold it. And so I've been on that other end, and I'm still kind of at the other end at a different capacity. But we want to thank you for being here. Thank you, Nick, for facilitating along with me. And we're both very excited because we're going to be talking about strategic sales, right? Some of you are in business, some of you want to start a business. So we have a little bit of everything today. But one of the things it's really important is we want to start with our vision and clarity, right? Why do you want to start a business? What is the problem that people are going to already pay you to solve? And I share this not just for the beginners, but also for those of you who are in business, because let me tell you, I was in business. I had a cleaning company for 15 years, and I always feel that we get into business and we're just on the go, and we're so in the business that we're not in the on the business, and then we lose track of what was our mission and vision. Why did we even start our business? So that's something I want you to think. Why are you starting the business? What problems are you solving? And who is already doing what you do, and what's going to set you aside? In addition to that, what makes you credible? And I share this because I want you to really start thinking, especially for those of you who are just starting. But those of you, some of you here mentioned somebody's been in business for 37 years, IT in 37 years. You've been in business for, sometimes we need that refresher. Trust me, I'm a big believer that we never stop learning. And sometimes we need to remind you. And so part of the sales strategy is like, how do people know that you exist, right? How are you currently promoting your business? What are you doing to promote your business? Because that's tied into the sales strategy, right? What are you doing? Because one of the things that today, as a business consultant here with Valley Economic, many of the clients that sign up for the business assistance program, they want to grow. Everybody wants to grow and make more money. Nick, you could agree with me on this because you're on the other side of the finance, and most of your clients that come to you is because they want to grow. So they need more money because they need to grow, right? But you have to have the systems into place. So can you share a little bit about that? What do you see when we have these clients that want to grow and ready to they need money to expand because you need money to expand.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it takes money to make money. And so
Yeah.
what I see a lot of is people come to me with a problem. They say, I want to grow
Yeah.
and I need money. And I say, well, that's fantastic. How are you going to grow? What's going to get you from point A to point B? What are you going to do with my money, essentially? And so I see a lot of, early stage companies that come to me with that exact problem, but they have no idea how they're going to get from point A to point B. And I say, well, I'm not going to give you any money if you can't tell me what it's going to be used for, or how are you going to get there? And so having a plan, like Veronica mentioned, whether it's your product differentiation, your placement in the market, who your competition is, what their offerings are, how your offerings differ. Do you have these different contracts lined up? Are you bidding? What your plan is? And if I don't see any of that, your credibility kind of goes south. And from a lending perspective, I'm not confident in lending my services to you if you don't have those things already in place.
Thank you for sharing that, Nick. And I like some of you have been in business. I know we have a few people that are just starting business, but some of you have been in business for a while. What are you doing to get out there to network? Because this is one thing that I get quoted on a lot, and I love to share this, but I want you to keep one thing in mind. Your network is your net worth. And if you're not out there creating new relationships or developing new relationships, and most importantly, it's not just, I always say, I'm gonna give you a little like, but I always say it's not about going to networking and like passing out cards like you're dealing poker at a, a gambling table, but it's like really going out there and connecting with individuals and creating authentic relationships that eventually will lead to a follow-up. And it may not lead anywhere, but I'm a big believer that I may not need an IT person right now, but guess what? I know a lot of people that might need an IT person, right? I may not need uniforms, but somebody mentioned they do uniforms. I have a client right now that I know needs uniforms. So remember, you never know how you can connect others because I'm a big believer that the more you give, the more you receive. So when you connect with other people, people are going to remember me that I connected them, right? And whenever they need something today, business consulting, they may remember me. So for those of you who have been in business, can you share? What are you out there? What are you doing because part of your sales strategy should be, I need to get more business, but how are you getting more business? What are you doing? So take advantage of these webinars that are free for you. Honestly, I didn't even know how many programs existed until I started my business, and now I just love that I'm able to share so many resources, right? Because there's so many resources out there. And then we have somebody like Nick who comes and supports this organization, the Valley Economic, is here supporting his, spending his time today supporting us to educate the community because. Nick, how important it is when you have these business owners that come to you and this is a full circle moment for me. I met Nick through Valley Economic Alliance, but I use his services, not with him. We didn't know each other, but I use Marble Bridge Services with my janitorial company back in 2021, 2020, 2021, 22. Nick, around that time.
Yep.
I don't know if I mentioned the dates, but what are some of the things that you look at? Because we talk, yes, we want to make money, but do you look at their business plan? Do you look at their sales strategy? Because that's one of the parts that we're talking about. Like, do they have a sales growth plan? And I know like Eric and Ninette and I just had a session and I send them a sales growth plan because it's important, right? Like not just your business plan, but tell us what you look at besides the financials. What other things do you look like? Because I know financials is the number one thing, right? Because that's our foundation of any business. But can you elaborate a little bit more? Because
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. And because we're an alternative source of financing, we focus on a more holistic approach than a bank would when it comes to due diligence and underwriting, stuff like that, because we want to look at the person as well. Marble Bridge, we have a heart and passion for small business owners. We want to help you grow and make sure that everybody has, a fair chance at getting, access to capital. And so what I'll look at is I look at, business owner competence. I want to see, how much experience do you have in your field? How many years in business have you been in a related field if you're just starting your own company? I want to look at, your sales strategy. I want to hear about your plans to grow, especially if you're in your early stages. I want to know how you plan on getting from point A to point B, kind of how I was talking about earlier. I want to hear about some of the challenges that you're facing. I want to see transparency. I want to see all these different aspects from a character standpoint as well, just not just from a business standpoint. So I like to say there's two buckets. You have the personal and then you have the business. And those are kind of the two buckets that I really take a look at. So having a sales strategy, having a business plan, having a roadmap, if you will, goes an extremely long way. In addition to the actual physical credit side of underwriting, which is where we look at the financials, we'll look at, your aging reports, we'll look at all these different aspects, we'll look at bank statements, we'll look at all these different things that are very traditional. And then as a non-traditional lender, we'll look at all the other aspects that kind of we're talking about today that lead to business credibility.
Ooh, do you hear that? Business credibility, because we have to see it's not always about, yes, the numbers are important, but they want to see the whole aspect. So those are things really, really that we have to take into consideration when we have a business or we want to start a business, especially the ones that already have a business, because sometimes we get a little comfortable and we're just kind of going with the flow, going with the flow. And it's just kind of like, I always say, are you stuck or are you scaling? Because everybody wants to scale, but they're just getting by. And what are you going to do to get out of your comfort zone, right? How are you getting, besides going out networking, I want you to ask this question: how will people know you exist? So I know we have people that rather not go networking. I respect that. As people's like, oh, I don't want to go networking. How will people know that you exist? I encourage you to take advantage of. We have Nick here who's sharing his time today. And if you need any guidance, Nick can look at your financials and see if you're Nick, you want to share that? What would you look like
Yeah,
if I'm interested, like, oh, I'm just starting off, but this is where I'm at, or I'm on a really tight budget, but like
sure.
know that you give free consultation. So can you share a little bit about like when I refer you a client from Valley Economic Alliance, I like to for you to say, what do you do?
Sure. Before I answer that, I want to just add one thing to the whole networking scheme.
Yeah.
And there's something that I've from when I was a small business owner to now to even when I would network now, I call it the rule of three. Whenever you meet someone new, you want to ask them to introduce you to three new people, and you want to introduce that person to three new people. And so that's how you can spider wedge your network a lot more efficiently, a lot more quickly. Is every person you meet, the goal should be to meet three new people through that person. And so that's a great rule that I always follow. With regards to, free events, I'd also recommend, the small business development centers. They host a lot of free events and they also do a lot of, even the paid ones are $10 for a ticket, $20 for a ticket. And when I was first starting my company, a lot of the ways that I got into the door was to bring lunch to everybody. So you make relationships with local, mom and pop shops that do sandwiches or something, and you can bring, sandwiches to a lunch or something like that. But you, it does take amounts of resources to be able to break the door in. But there are a lot of opportunities. So you just need to look in the right place. And that's kind of leading into the next part of Veronica's question is, so if Veronica sends me a person, that's, in an early stage or even a mature stage, the first thing I'll want to do is I'll just sit down and have a conversation and I want to hear your story. I want to hear where you're at in your business. I want to hear where you would like to go, your plans to get there. And then if you're not ready for me just yet, then I want to do what I can to help you get ready for me. And so what that looks like is connecting you with other resources that I have in my Rolodex or telling you about different events that I know that are going on that I think would be beneficial. All these other things that I like to do for individuals is because I want to be a value add. And that's kind of the mentality I would recommend that you go out in your business is you always want to be a value add because like Veronica mentioned earlier, when you're a value add and you refer someone to someone else, you stick in their brain saying, hey, Veronica helped me out in this instance. I just thought of something that would, be up her alley or something like that. And that's how you can grow your network. That's how you gain credibility and that's how you can grow, not just as a, business owner, but as a person as well. And so those are all types of things that I like to do is it's more than just looking at your financials. It's hearing about your story, where you're at, where you want to go, and how I can help you get there. Whether that's me helping you right now or in 6 months from now or, a year from now. Those are all different things that I do on my own time.
Yeah, yeah. And Nick, thank you for sharing that because it's about developing that relationship with somebody like Nick, right? Because he might not be able to help you now, but I love that you said it could be 6 months, it could be a year. You never know. And I share this because this always happens through networking. When I had my cleaning company, I'll tell you, man, I would go networking and sometimes I would like get all excited because they wanted a proposal for a building. And then I go give a proposal and then 5 months go by, 6 months go by, and I just felt like, oh, I don't think I got it. Then a year later, they're calling me. Oh, we've decided we're going to make a change. Is your price still good? No, but it wasn't just about them calling, but I also was in touch with them because Nick talked about like, right? I would be in
Mhm.
touch with them. I would show up. Let me tell you, I go to the Vons and buy all the cookies on sale and then go just drop off cookies. I was just in the area, just visiting the area. That's it, kind of a little bit old school because you can't really do that much now after COVID. There was a lot of security stuff happening, or even after 9/11, but definitely after COVID. But I would just go drop off cookies. So it's like you have to stay, it's in the follow up, right? It's in the follow up because you continue. It's like, Nick may forget about you, but you can't forget about Nick. So it's like you have to continue being if you want to work with him, or he might be able to help you with other type of resources because that's why I always say network is your net worth because you just met Nick and I, but you don't know all the people we know and you don't know who we can introduce you to, right? And Tracy, you know a lot about this because you're in the chamber world, but you know, that's kind of the way this works. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Let's
And they've gotten desperate and they take predatory loans. I'm specifically referring to MCAs or merchant cash advances, where they give you, money next day directly into your bank account based on whatever your revenues are, and then they start automatically taking it out of your account weekly, if not daily, at absurdly high interest rates. So for everyone on this call, I can't stress enough, avoid those like the plague. If you have any type of financing needs or questions, or you're not sure you're not qualified for bank funding and you don't know where to go, please connect with either myself or with Veronica. That's why I exist. And if I can't help you, there's a better than not chance I know someone that can. So, or whoever you're getting connected with, whether it's your banker, whether it's me, whether it's whoever is going to be offering you or lending you money, that is something that is building trust on our side of the table. If I don't trust you as a person, I'm more than likely not going to lend you money. So that's a huge step to do as well. Build a banking relationship, build your lender relationship. Even if, like I said, even if you're having that relationship is a tremendously long way.
Yeah. It's all relationships, relationships, relationships. And you know what? Everything's in the follow-up. I want to share something, and not because Nick is here, but because Nick is here, I want to share this. So with the Valley Economic Alliance, I started back in July, and we have like these monthly meetings where we meet with our experts in residency, with Nick happens to be one of them. And there's several. I don't know, we have a long list of experts in residency, but there's always two that follow up with me or check in with me because I'm here on a part-time basis, but I'm like, oh, I need to reach out to them because I see their emails, and Nick is one of them. And what is he doing? He's building a relationship not just with myself, but with the Valley Economic Alliance. So I share that because then what happens out of sight, out of mind, right, Nick? Out of sight, out of mind. Like,
Absolutely.
but when somebody's constantly following up with you, they're going to remember. And for those of you who have been in business and for the new ones too, but keep this in mind. When was the last time you reached out to some of your clients that you haven't done business with in the last 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? When was the last time you reached out to them? You don't have to answer. I want you to keep that in mind, right? Because you never know. Just because they're not ordering uniforms or they don't need any kind of home care or any kind of services, IT services right now, or haven't used them in a year, that doesn't mean they don't need them now. Because sometimes, here's what been my experience is that a client will change because they're not happy for something, or I most of my clients that I lost when I had my cleaning company had to do with pricing because somebody always came in cheaper in the janitorial world. And you know what though, I still kept in touch with them, and eventually, you know what, they give me the contract back because they changed because of price, not because of service, but then the service was not the best. Right. So sometimes we as a client, oh, I don't know if I want to come to call Thomas because I went with this other IT person, but they suck. Sorry, they don't do well, and I need to go. But then I'm embarrassed to go back to Thomas because I had Thomas as he was my IT guy for 20 years, but I chose this other person, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell him that I'm working with somebody who I don't like, right? Because so, but if you don't reach out to me, Thomas, out of sight, out of mind, right? But then one day Thomas calls like, oh, Thomas, glad you called me. You know what? I need you to help me with some IT stuff, right? And I might not even say I don't like the other guy, but I'm just sharing this because this happens. Nick, I'm sure that you get clients like that that want to go explore. Hey, the hard lending,
Oh yeah.
the hard lenders.
I just so actually I'm about to sign a client that I've been working with since last July. And I was working with them. They're like, we're gonna see if we can go find someone better, basically is the answer they gave me. And they went out and they went shopping and they realized that say, look, their business on its own merits doesn't qualify for traditional lending, which is why they were sent over to me in the first place. And they go through this whole thing and they're like, hey, Nick, yeah, you were right. And I'm at this point where it's like, hey, by all means, go explore your options. If you can find something better, I'll be the first one to encourage you to take it. But I'm going to be here. And
Yeah.
so I checked in periodically, time after time. And I will say this, the rule of three also applies to building relationships, where just because you have a lunch with someone one time doesn't mean you have a relationship. It takes at least 3 points of contact
Yeah.
before you can start considering it a relationship. And so the keys, like Veronica mentioned earlier, is in follow-up. And that's kind of what the process we had to go through with this particular client. And they've reached back out and they're like, hey, you know what? All right, we went out, we shot, but we like working with you the best. So let's go through with it. And that's just kind of how it is. And it was the same thing when I was a business owner. I ran a physical therapy clinic and we were in a saturated market and I had to sell my doctor as opposed to all the other doctors that they've been working with. And so I took them all to lunch, brought lunches to their office. And it wasn't just one time, it was, once every couple months, points of contact, checking and bringing coffee to the nursing staff every morning, all these different things to show that I'm a relationship guy and I won their business because of the relationship. Yeah, our product was good as well, but the reason why we got an even opportunity to have the product is because of the relationship that was built ahead of time. So don't think you're like, oh, I like talked to this person, I had one Zoom meeting or one coffee with them, but I never heard from them again. Well, yeah, you had one meeting with
Yeah.
them.
One meeting is not enough, right? When I started my business in 2008, my cleaning business, it was over 2,000, over 2,000 thousands of janitorial companies in the Los Angeles County, and I managed to grow it. So I'm big on collaboration because if anything, remember people do business with you because of you. So nobody steals anybody's clients. Nobody. It's that relationship building. I love the 3 points of contact, the power of three. The 3 points of contact. So just keep that in mind, because I feel like there could be a very strong connection between Thomas and Eric. As far as Eric, I know you're starting off. Thomas has been in business 37 years. How can there be some form of collaboration? So just wanted to make sure I said that. Resources. Nick, we're getting ready to wrap up. Is there something you'd like to say to leave everybody with? Something in closing remarks?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are all doing the right thing and being here, taking the first step, getting connected. Veronica's a fabulous resource. It's been a pleasure working alongside her for the past few months, and I would just encourage you all to reach out. For me, there's a couple of people that even during this Zoom, a couple of people that popped into my head that I need to reach out to. So if you had that kind of spark in your head, take the time, reach out to that person that kind of came to mind, get connected with Veronica and myself. Even if you're not ready for the stage that you're at in your business, and it's just good to pick our brains, what you need to do to get to the next step, any ideas. I mean, that's exactly why we're here. So I would encourage you to take those next steps.
Thank you, Nick. And for me, something in closing that I wanted to share because it's tied into the whole sales strategy builds revenue, but revenue builds credibility, and credibility builds the lending opportunity. So keep that in mind because we kind of talked about all this stuff about having that credibility and building the relationship more than anything. And because you're not going to get funded because you need money, you get funded because you've built something fundable, right, Nick?
Yeah,
Don't see that for you either.
everybody has it's idea versus execution. Everybody has a great idea, and there are people that fund ideas, but they're very few and far in between. So,
Yeah.
if you have something that's actually scalable, you have a physical, outcome is great. And then the other thing I would say is when you do come and talk to lenders, be humble. The amount of people that I talk to that come in, this sense of entitlement, they think that their idea is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And from a lending perspective, it's like, look, well, we're looking for something tangible, not just an idea. Like I said, if you're looking at that's venture capitalist, that's start, those types of realms, which are, those ideas are very few and far in between. So, and then I would say ask questions, ask your lender questions. We love them. It shows that you're coming from a place where you want to learn, you want to grow. But yeah, the sense of the entitlement that I see a lot of is, it rubs us the wrong way. So just be, yeah, be yourselves.
Yourselves. I love it, Nick. Thank you. Any questions? We have 2 minutes left, and I want to be respectful of your time. You have a wonderful day.
Bye bye.